Hello there and welcome to Chitta Diaries. Like I'm so out of breath just sitting down, setting up my light and everything. I'm so unfit. But yeah, today is another story time. Like I feel like I've just decided to just go along on this role of story times. Even though I began this series by saying like it was a one-off and I only do hair videos. But yeah, like I said, I was on a roll. um at the point of me filming this, part one is out of me buying a home. Part two, like I filmed them the same weekend, so it was like one day and the next day. But I'm going to shoot, like, even this video will come out like I think even 2 weeks from now. Because yeah, like I need to spread out my content. But part one is out, and yeah. At the point of me filming this, like, part two of my owning experience hasn't gone up, in case anybody has been following this series. So yeah, at the end of part two, I mentioned that I'll tell you guys the story of my first car. And this one isn't even like an educational one. Like I don't even know, like, at least with the house stuff, it was like a bit of life lessons here and there. I don't know, like this one is just me lamenting, like purely lamenting. So yeah, where do I begin? Again, I feel like I need to go back to, yeah, like around the time I was buying the house. So that was 2018, etc whatnot. I was living in Chisamba. So for my international viewers, once more, I live in Zambia. It's a country in southern Africa, a small country, but like, we have fun here. And I was living in a small town because my company transferred me there. And life, the cost of living there was really, really low. So I had it was literally a 5-minute walk from my home to my office, like a casual walk. And then also, apart from that, like, I remember when we just moved there, like, we asked, because we were coming from the capital city, we were like, where can we get cabs? And people laughed at us. Like, it was so strange being in a town where there was no taxi. We didn't even have like mini buses in between like farms or whatnot. Like, you had to go to one specific point, or you'd have to be like along the main road to get a bus to go to like the city or the next town. But there was literally no buses. Most people either had their own cars or bicycles. Like, bicycles were like Chisamba swag. Actually, like the friend who I moved there with, she was a colleague and then a friend as well. I remember her getting hit on by a guy like on a bicycle, like our first month there, and he was like literally like riding circles around there and spitting game. It was so funny. It was epic. But yeah, like, but that was our life there. Literally, the bank, the market. I think we did have a filling station, but at the time I was leaving, like, they put up a filling station. But it was such a small community that everything that she needed was in one place. So it was like a small residential area and then a whole bunch of farms. So that's how Chisamba is. It would be like a small cluster of like residential homes, and then a whole bunch of like big open like farming areas, and then like another place with like a few homes, and then like a whole bunch of farms. So if I wanted to get like a taxi, or if I had something I needed to carry and the like I would have. Anyways, point is, it was very, very far. And if you're not Chisamba, like, the only place you could find a taxi is the checkpoint, and I live like far from there. So if I needed to like carry stuff, or I just needed transport, like, you needed to get like phone numbers of some guys there, and then they become your cabbie, and then you tell them to come to wherever you are, like, if you need just like transport. So yeah, that was my life. And then I got spoiled, and the only time I would need to like use like a car or anything is when I was coming to the city. So I would either get a lift from like my boss, because she lived in the city, or I would get on a minibus, right? And then once I was in Lusaka, like, it was still beans. Like, I would either use like a cab or a Lendo, or like beg for lifts from my family, which was getting annoying. But then for me, I was like, I'm only doing this once a month. Of course, there'll be times, especially during the rainy season, because it's the farming area, like the mud was mad. But like, would complain and be like, oh my gosh, like, I need, a car now, like, me and my friend. And then like the rains would finish and we'd just go back to that 10-minute walk, and life would be Gucci. Until 2019, when both of us got transferred. So she got transferred to the capital city, like she found a job there, and then I got, okay, same company, but she got transferred there, and then I got transferred to Chongwe, like a small town. So Chongwe is technically a small town, but it's a far bigger like urban community. Like, not every, like, you don't know all your neighbors here, because it's actually a very, very big community. not unlike Chisamba. So I remember walking, I was like, let me see how far the market is. Like the weekend I moved here back in August of 2019. Like I tried to take a walk to the market and it was 45 minutes. You guys, like my face was melting. Like that's how badly I was sweating. And I was like, I can't do this. And then even work, I tried. So like walk was along the way to the market. And I think walk was like a 35-minute walk uphill. And I was like, hell to the mother effing no. Yeah. So I had to start getting cabs to work. And then eventually I just carpooled with a colleague and then like I would like contribute for fuel. But this is now end of 2019, spilling into 2020. So if you had watched my previous stories, I had mentioned how I had like a home and then I needed to put up like a water project. So I also mentioned in my prior videos that I am somebody who isn't good at saving. So let me just say this, because I don't want to be that person who lies. I know there's a lot of like inspiration online where you see somebody who just inspires you on the internet. I'm going to be fully transparent. I'm not somebody who is like really disciplined. My discipline is me living within my means. Like that, like that's the most I do. Like that's the only thing I can clap for myself for, is that I live within my means. But do I go above and beyond to like sacrifice and do, like no. So with regards to my salary, I was terrible at saving, but then I would have different lump sums throughout the year. It could be like I would call it like a mini gratuity that I would get once a year, which was like a good amount of money for me to do something substantial outside of my salary. Like if I needed to pay for school fees, if I needed to buy a plot, if I needed to like go on vacation, which is something that I would do like pre-mortgage days, like stuff like that. So that's where the money would come from. But I can't sit here and lie that, you know, I was saving and doing all of that. It was technically saving because I could have used it for other things, but I hope you get what I mean. Like again, like I always want to be transparent and touch on privilege. Like I wasn't that person who was being super disciplined. And then two, like I don't have like a side hustle or a business. I don't have like wealthy parents or a sugar parent, you know what I mean? Like yeah, so I just wanted to just put that down for you, even as I'm talking about, you know, like a car and the whole house thing. The house thing I was very transparent, but even for the car thing, because this is not like additional money, I wanted to just make it very clear that it was coming from multiple lump sums outside of my salary that could accord me to put a certain amount of money aside for like, you know, bigger projects, if that makes sense. So we're now in 2020, right? And I'm like, okay, fine. This year, even though like I really need a car, I was like, it's a small town, I can wait a bit longer and just save a bit more. But even though like I really, really wanted a car, I was like, you know what, I'll use the money that I have. I think at that point I had about 60,000 kwacha. And I was like, it will go towards the house. So this is so this is before my tenant moved out. So this is when I just needed to put up a water tank. I was like, you know what, like I will deal with that. And then March 2020 happens and COVID hits. Now everybody was just confused. We didn't know what it was going to do to us. So there was a lot of paranoia going around, and I was one of those paranoid people. And I was like, I cannot use public transport anymore. I cannot be in people's cars who I don't know anymore. I don't know if they're sanitizing anything. Like I panicked, and getting a car was now like it was priority number one. So I had always planned that the day I get my first car, I would order it from Japan. So for people in the West who can buy brand new cars and you get car notes with really, really low interest rates, it's not the same for most of us in African countries. Though I won't speak for the whole continent, because Africa is not a country, it's a continent. But for my country, Zambia, I know that there are very few people who can just walk into a showroom and buy like a brand new car. And two, yeah, like okay, like most of us just buy secondhand cars from Japan or from like Southeast, yeah, or, no, from East Asia basically. Like that's what we do over here. So when someone says they are buying a new car, the average Zambian for the most part, like they're importing it from like Singapore or Japan or Dubai or wherever. So yeah, that was the plan. So I had been looking around on like all these B Ford, straight car view, etc whatnot, and I had my heart set on a Volkswagen Golf. I just loved the simplicity and just, but also uniqueness and cuteness of the Volkswagen Golf. Like I wanted that for myself, like I really did. So I was like, I'm going to get a Volkswagen Golf. That was the plan. But this was pre-COVID. I thought if I could just have, like a bit more money later on. Again, so I was going into 2022 with a 60 grand. And I was like, if I get like these other like small lump sums that I get here and there, I might have maybe like 100 that could help me get something or something along the way. And then I could make a plan with the balance. But then late 2019, the exchange rate was like $1 to 11 kwacha, bordering on 12. And then November, December, like the kwacha began to dip. Like it was really, really bad. And by the time March, April, May rolled along, I think it was close to 18 kwacha. Like it was so bad. And I couldn't order a car from Japan anymore, because I think my budget was between $5,000 to like $5,500. And then like the excess for clearing with our tax agency for importing the car was now like 30,000 kwacha. For the Zambians, like this math is mathing for you. But for the international viewers, just know that I could no longer import stuff because our exchange rate, or our currency rather, had really, really depreciated badly. So now I'm like, okay, I really need a car. I'm desperate. And I did the one thing I swore I would never do, and that was to buy a third hand car. Because like I said, like everybody's new car is second hand. So if you're buying it from someone else in the country, it's at the very least a third hand car, sometimes even a fourth hand. So now I log on to Facebook, like something that I swore I would never do, because this is the thing. Like for most Zambians, I'm not saying all, but there is this stereotype of how people don't really service their cars that often. Like you just like you drive your car for 2 years without servicing it until something bad happens to it. So sometimes cars aren't maintained that well. So yeah, like buying a third hand is a bit like it's risky. Whereas if you're getting it from Japan, I think they have better vetting systems, because that's their business. So they wouldn't want to be like sending over wrecks, even though some people get unlucky, but at least there's better controls put in place if you're importing from Japan. So anyways, I'm just in this mode of like, I'm desperate, I need a car, I can't use public transport. And for sure, you guys, like once COVID hit, I didn't get on a bus. like that was the last time. So yeah, and then I was just like, at least I have something, let me look around. So now I'm on the Facebook pages, like the Zambian Facebook pages, and I started looking around, even just prices. So the first thing that I knew I could not do was get a Volkswagen, because the maintenance of a Volkswagen is quite pricey where I'm from. Most people drive Toyotas because they're easier to maintain. So I was told that forget about a Volkswagen. In fact, even when I was looking at Volkswagens from Japan, they were like, why are you getting a Volkswagen? Like just get Toyota, like spare parts are cheaper. Like you don't want a Volkswagen to be your first car, or even just like a German car or anything. Like just get a reliable Toyota as your first car, go through it, experience it, and then later on, if you want, you can have a second car, or just upgrade to a German car, whatever German brand you want. But for now, like just pick something reliable. And I was like, okay, fine. Like I've canceled the whole Volkswagen Go thing. Let me look at Toyotas. So at the time, like I said, I had 60, and by the time I was able to get like an extra 30,000, it was May. So now it was May, and I was actively looking for a car. Now I log on to Facebook, right? All these Z car dealers and sellers, blah 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 blah. And I saw a whole bunch of cars. I would make appointments. And something that I want to complain about, you guys, I love to big up my country, but at the same time, we can be problematic as a people. Like there are so many things that piss like each other off. And I swear, like I would make appointments with people, and unfortunately, like I said, like I didn't have a car. I was in a different town, so I had to ask like my cousin to help me out to look for cars like in Lusaka, because he was based there. So like I'll just make them exchange numbers, and then he would look at the cars for me. I remember me making like appointments with two separate people. Like one was for a Toyota Belta. You guys, like first of all, they took forever to respond. They eventually responded. We made appointments of where we would meet. My cousin showed up. They weren't there. He tried calling them. They said they were coming, and they just didn't show up. We tried on a second day. It was the same story. I think they'd even forgotten they had an appointment. Like it was so confusing. I'm like, are you not selling this car? So I remember ditching those Belta people. And then I got an appointment with a second seller. Like, it was just the same. Like, people are so ridiculous. Like, you tell them, like where are you right now? Like, they were so late with their appointments. And I'm like, my cousin is literally taking time off of work to help me out. I was just like, F this. So I think I got a lift to Osaka because I said I was like we're all panicking about COVID. So I get a lift. I'm like, okay, fine. Like, I'm going to make time out this weekend. So I meet up with my cousin, and then we met this third seller who I made an appointment with, and it was a Toyota Axio. It was a silver or a gray one, and it was in really, really good condition. And his asking price was 86,000. So, like, mind you, I only had 90 on me for everything, to buy a car, to register it, to pay for insurance, and any other small things, or maybe even just servicing. So I didn't want to buy anything that was over like 80. And my cousin like don't worry, like we can negotiate and whatnot. So I remember we met him in the car park of East Park. So we looked at the car. It was really, really nice. Like, we tried to hustle, we tried to negotiate it. I think he brought it down by like a $5,000 because I was like, I have the cash with me right now, and I'll be willing to buy it. But then I was like, where's the white book? So the white book is like the registration of a car in my country, like it's called the white book. And he didn't have one. Was it a pink book? Okay, like I forgot what color it was, because this was 2 years ago. It was 2020. And turns out he hadn't registered it. I think there was some provision or allowance that was given to students. Like, I didn't know what story that was, but apparently there's some people who don't have to pay for import tax if they're a student or something like that, and they're given a grace period of like a year or two to pay it. I don't even know, but point is, he was like, it's only expiring in a year, or like you have a year from now, and then you have to pay that like 27,000. I was just like, held, like why didn't you say this in the ad? So I got all hype and I was happy about it, and then he's like, actually, you also have to budget for like another 30 pin or something. So I was just like, no, like I can't do this, and I canceled it. So now, like, I'm running out of time. So the reason why I was panicking was that I had applied for annual leave, and I also needed to learn how to drive and get my license, and everything needed to happen within the space of the 3 weeks that I had set out of work. So like, I was going to learn how to drive, blah, blah, blah. But anyways, point is, and I also just wanted my own car. Like, I was in that headspace where like I really wanted a car. So I was doing this, like I was doing all this searching by myself, etc, whatnot. I briefly mentioned to my parents, but then I wanted to do it by myself. Like, I wanted to be a grown-up, I wanted to be an independent woman, and just for once make decisions by myself. I was like, I can do this. Like, it's straightforward. I would just do what I can, follow the rules, etc, whatnot, be straightforward, and I'm sure everything will be fine. So my cousin was busy, like he had to travel for work out of the country, and he was the one helping me out. So he goes out of the country, and then I'm still looking, and then I find this car for sale. It was another Toyota Axio. It was a navy blue Toyota Axio, and I was like, okay. Like, I saw that silver one, which I ended up like canceling, and it seems like a solid car. So this Axio, it looked neat on the pictures. It looked fine and everything. So I hit up the seller, and turns out like it was being sold via an agent. So the agent is the one who was like the middleman. So I'm like, hi, like, I'm interested in this car. When can I view it? He's like, anytime. So now, because my cousin was out of town, I actually sent him pictures, and he's like, oh, like, it looks okay, like, you know, but maybe just wait for me to get back so we can look at it. But I was like, like, when are you coming back? Like, I'm running out of time. Like, I need to buy a car. So I now like text my sister, who at this point hadn't even lived in the country in 5 years, but so she had relocated to another country, but she had left her car at my parents' house. So whenever like she's in town, like, she uses her car, and her car is a BMW. So anyways, point is, she had a mechanic, even like her friend, I think, who had a Jaguar, but anyways, there's like one like popular mechanic man who I think her and her friends really, really trusted, and that was their mechanic while they're around. And I was like, and in fact, if this is a Toyota, like, this must be like I'm sure it would be like a walkover for him. So I'm like, oh, like, I'm asking for, you know, a reliable mechanic, because she's like the one person that I could think of. So she asked like her friend who had also relocated, who was in the UK, and I was like, oh, like, let me ask but so and so. Let's give him a fake name, but John. Let me ask about John. then I'll send you his number and just explain to him etc. Whatnot. So I call John. He's like, yeah, sure. I'm like, please go and vet this car for me. Let me know if it's fine so I can buy it. So John gets the seller's phone number and they meet up. So he calls me and he's like, this car, don't buy it. Don't buy it. Like, I've asked him to fix a couple of things, and then once he confirms that he's done that, then you should let me know so I can check them, and then you can buy. And I was like, okay, cool. Then I asked, like what exactly is the problem here? What's the problem with the car? And he was like, okay, the one that I've seen, like, that's big is the brake pads need to be replaced. But anyways, like, once you buy it, like, I can service this and it will be fine. and it will be fine. And I remember, like, I asked him, like what's the big deal? Like, what am I asking him to fix? Like what's going to cause this delay? He was like, no, just ask him to replace the brake pads. I'm like, if it's brake pads, then it's not that big of a deal. Like, I can even buy those myself, and then you put it in, like you can replace them as well as service the car. And he was like, cool. So I called the seller. I'm like, he's mentioned it's just brake pads, so give me a further discount. and for this car, like remember, like the nice silver Axio, that one I think had a selling price of 86. I think we managed to bring it down before he mentioned all of that to either like a 78 to an 80. I don't even know. Whereas for this one, like, the starting price was 80, and then I told him, because my cousin was like you need to haggle. But now I'm just like, sometimes haggling is not necessary. Like, okay, like, it was a lot, but he was just that person, like, who's like you need to haggle. So I told him, the seller now, for the navy blue Axia, that I only had the 75 cash, like, was ready. I could even pay him today. And you know how people are, like, when they when money is close, they're like, like, it's fine, like, I'll take it. And he was way too eager to take it. That first seller was quite skeptical, and he stood his ground on negotiations, and that's how you can kind of tell that this is a solid car. But the first red flag was how easy, he was like, oh, you know what, it's fine, like, I'll take a 75. I'm thinking to myself, like, went from 80. No. In fact, it wasn't a 75 because I was like, I have to fix the brake pads. But anyways, point is, like, we went from 80 to 72,000, and he was like, you know what, I'm making a loss, but it's okay, just take the car. Like he made it seem like, like, he was really making a loss, but it's fine, even though he could have said no and found other buyers. First red flag of how I played myself. So now he like, everything is done, but again, like I'm still in Chonga, like, I haven't looked at this car myself. So I'm like, okay, my cousin isn't around, he's coming back like in a couple of days. Just take this car to my parents' house. My dad will receive it, and then once my dad has confirmed that he's gotten the car, I will transfer the money, and then my dad will also sign the contract on my behalf, like, you can hand over the white book, etc. Whatnot. In fact, even before the white book, because I asked for the white book, turns out Zambians have a habit of buying cars and not changing ownership because they don't want to pay fees. So, like, turns out, like, it wasn't even a third hand. Like, he had bought it from somebody else, and then this was only coming up later. And he's like, no. So again, second red flag, like, he had lied about how he was the one who had brought it into the country. But he's like, actually, I had bought it from somebody else. But anyways, so point is, he now had to change ownership to his name so that he could sell it to me. So I had to wait like 3 or 4 days for him to do that with, like, ZRA and, like, police reports, and also RATSA, like the registration place for cars in my country. So yeah. He now takes the white book and the contract of sale to my parents' house. So before my dad even signs it, he calls me and he's like, hi, I've seen your car and everything. No, he didn't even say your car. He said, I've seen the car that has been brought here. And are you sure? And you guys, like I don't know what demon possessed me. And I'm going to be that Zanban, like, who's just going to blame the devil. I was so impatient. And he's like, no, I remember my dad saying, I think just be a little bit patient. And I was like, Dad, like, I've looked around, cars are really expensive. This is just like something simple, take me from point A to point B. Like, I can always sell it in a year or two when I have a bit more to top up and buy the car that I actually wanted, or something really, really strong. But for now, it's what I can afford. It's what I can afford. Please, like, just let me get this car. Like, it's no biggie. Like, it's just something simple. And he was like, be patient. And then he was about to sell his old car. Like, he was in the process of selling it. but then COVID hit, and you're like, yeah, but anyways, the point is that they had a car, and he was like, in the meantime, I can lend this other car to you, like it's all the and everything, but it moves, and then just keep that money that you have for a car, and then later on when you have enough, you can now buy your own. Like he actually, my dad actually offered, but again, I would touch on why on this whole aspect of me overthinking things and just being dramatic. But I was just like, no, like I want to be a grown up. I don't want charity. I just want to be like to do things on my own terms, to just be a grown woman, to be a boss babe and everything. Like I want to do everything by myself. So I insisted, and he's like, okay, cool. So my dad signs the contract, and I transfer this money. So now, before I so the plan was to have it serviced by John, the mechanic. And while I was waiting to do all that whole servicing, so like my cousin comes back, like I think like a day or two had gone by. I'm like, oh, by the way, like I bought a car, like I remember the car I'd sent you pictures for, like I bought it. I'm asking because again, like I'm doing things remotely. I'm like, please have it registered for me in my name, because I like order. Like I actually do. I'm kind of yeah, like you know about that. So I'm like, please have this transferred to my name. Like I want it to be registered in my name. So my cousin now takes this car to like Ratza, and he calls me I actually remember this very vividly. Like he calls me like I think it was like 7 something, because he was going first thing in the morning, and he's like, Chita, like why have you bought, like this car is like you bought a wreck. So I thought he was just being dramatic, or maybe he had caught feelings because I got a car without him. Like I was just like all up in my head about it. So I actually remember getting upset and irritated that he was telling me off, saying like I bought a wreck and everything. Why have you bought a wreck? Like and he was like, all I had to do was look at this car, like even just just seeing it with my eyes, I know that this car has been in an accident. And then he mentioned how even the dashboard like was covered as if like the material or plastic that he had put over the dashboard like was covering like maybe like damage from a prior accident, but that dashboard cover was not what came with the car. And he was like, anyways, like so then anyways like he asked me how I even came to buy this car. I was like, no, like I asked like a mechanic, and like who is this mechanic, like who is this mechanic who said that you should buy this car? Because like any serious mechanic can just look at this and know that it's not a solid car. So now like I said, like I was low-key panicking. I was like, you know what, he's just being dramatic. Like I know people who've bought 3rd or 4th hand cars in the country and they've been like fine. You know what I mean? It might give them problems here, but the point is it's taking them from point A to point B. And I'm not somebody who covers like a lot of miles or kilometers, because I live in a small town. And if fine, like the walk to work was like 35 minutes, but if I was going by car, like it was like 5 to 10 minutes, and I was rarely going to the city because of COVID. I'm like, I just need a simple car to take me within town, like where I'm staying. Like it's not that big of a deal. I can always sell it in a year's time. So in my mind, I'm like, you know what, like it's not that bad. He's panicking, fine, maybe it's a messed up car, but I don't think anything worse will happen. So he goes, he registers the car, and then he comes back and has a whole conversation with my dad, complaining about how he like he's unhappy with the state of this car. So now my dad, who had like, my dad doesn't really know cars like that, but even he seemed a bit skeptical when he saw it, like I had mentioned. So now my dad gets his mechanic. Oh, and again he asked me like, which mechanic did you use? And why didn't you consult me? Like, why were you doing all these things by yourself? I was like, no, like God, I want to do it by myself. So I tell him that no, that I like it was my sister's old mechanic, or my sister and her friend, blah blah blah. Like, so I mentioned this other mechanic, and he was like, but do you know him? Is he reliable? I'm like, yeah, like he came highly recommended from like my sister and her friend. So I assumed that he was legit. Okay, let me pause in case like this thing breaks. Oh, sorry, in case I lose footage. So yeah. So my dad now gets his mechanic. So he had a trusted mechanic who had been working on his car and my mom's car. And in 2020, at that point, he had been like their family mechanic for 12 years. So he was like with somebody who was very reliable, and he wasn't like a bush mechanic or anything. Like he was also like a legit and organized person. Because like, yeah. And he was like, yeah. Anyways, point is, my dad asked his mechanic like to come and now look at the car. You guys, I got a video on WhatsApp, and prior to me doing this story, like I tried going through my gallery to see if it was there, but I actually deleted a whole bunch of stuff. I wish I could have had it now for like receipts, but the trauma that I went through, turns out I had deleted like a whole bunch of pictures and even footage. So he now sends me like a 5-minute video just going around the car and pointing at so many things that were wrong. He was like, and even he was like, this car has been in a bad accident. 1, 2, the mileage that's there. He said it was altered. And I think if it wasn't him, it was my cousin who had like a friend at Ratsa or whoever, like who checked. So when you're importing a car, like it has a serial number or something, and at the time of import, it shows you whatever stats it came into the country with, and the mileage from like, I don't know if it was like 7 years ago or whenever, was even was even like higher than what was appearing, if that makes sense. So meaning they had tuned the mileage, but there were so many things. There was wear and tear, like there was something that was broken that had to be replaced, but it was a bad car, and there was a lot that was going to have to be fixed. So now I, of course, like got really, really upset, like all. And then because I'm a paranoid and temperamental person, I began to have distrust for my dad's mechanic. I'm like, where are all these things coming from? Like the first mechanic who was highly recommended from my sister and her friend has been working on cars, and he said it was just brake pads. What the like what's going on here? So they like reported a whole bunch of stuff. So anyways, I now send my sister this video, and even she's like, oh my gosh, like no, like dad's mechanic is right. And then she sends this video to like her friend who recommended that mechanic. And he was like, I remember he was so upset, like bless his heart. He was so mad, but like I think out of everybody, like I think he was even more upset than I was, even after everything ended. Like if he was in the country, like he would have gone and grabbed like John's cuff and just like roughed him up. But anyways, point is like he saw that video and he really, really apologized. Like, I'm so sorry. Like I didn't. Like I would never have thought he would have done something like this, because even I'm looking at this car and what your dad's mechanic has said, and it's the truth. Like this car is a mess. So now my dad and my cousin are now calling the seller, and like they're like yelling at him and just telling him off, and they like take this car back, and he's like no, and he was right. He was like no, I am not taking the car back, because according to me there's nothing wrong with the car. 2, she sent her own mechanic. Like I didn't use my mechanic. Like she sent her own mechanic who vetted this car and said it was okay. So I have nothing to do with this. So now like later on, my cousin even suspected that maybe that the mechanic and the seller like connived just so like that mechanic could make money off of fixing it. It was a mess, you guys. It was a mess, and I was so upset. But I kept thinking to myself, you know what? It's okay. It's okay. I would just do whatever works are going to come up, and like I will sell the car one day. Like it doesn't even matter. Like I will sell the car one day. For now, I just need something that will take me from point A to point B. Like as long as it's running, like it's fine. So now my dad's mechanic starts working on stuff. Like he spent I think 2 weeks fixing this car, and at this point now, you guys, like my driving instructor, let's take a 5-minute detour so I can tell you about my driving instructor. So like I said, I needed to learn how to drive. At that point I was 28, and like I didn't know how to drive because I didn't have a car, even though my parents kept telling me just get, like for years, I think from the age of 18. Granted, when I was 20 I tried to learn how to drive, but then I failed my test at Mimosa or wherever. And then I just didn't go back, because like college, like I did it during my school holiday, and then I had to go back to school, and then I just didn't go back until 2020 when I was 28. So point is, my parents had been telling me to at the very least get a license for years, but I wasn't being proactive about it. But now like I wanted to do everything, you know, like at gunpoint, last minute. So I was like, should I go to like one of these like reputable driving schools in Lusaka? But then I thought about the admin of going there again with COVID and everything. I was like, nope, let me support like my local team. So I asked like my cabbies in Chongwe. I was like, do you know any driving schools? And then my cabbie was like, so there was only one, like there's only one person, and he took me there. First of all, like this man is at least 65, like he's a senior citizen. Like he was so dramatic, you guys. I think he used to be in the army or whatever, but he's like, he was retired and the like he was so aggressive. But I took it as he's very passionate about what he does. And he charged me 1,600 kwacha. So he was like, no, it's inclusive of everything, fees. Like, I'll take you to Lusaka when you're going to get your provisional license, even when you do like your final test, everything. And like, if you're fast at learning and everything, we can even be done in 2 weeks. I was like great, because I have exactly 3 weeks before I have to go back to work. And with the way my job is set up, I can't get time off to just be moving up and down and doing tests and everything. So that's how, yeah, he came day one. He came day one, and I loved how he like I didn't have to go to him. He like could always come and pick me up from home. So first day and like literally he just went straight into it. He was like, get into the car, like from like the point of meeting, like you're going to learn how to drive because this is the only way you can get it right. I didn't even have a provisional license at that point. So we went round. So like we did like day one, and then day two. I think I did 3 lessons, like 3 days of lessons, and he was like, okay, tomorrow we're going to Lusaka to get your provisional license. You guys, like I studied the 10 basic rules, all the road signs, and he's like, I'll come and pick you up at 7. So when I met him that first day, I only gave him half, because like I know how some Zambians operate. Like I only gave him half. I gave him 800, and he was like, but then I loved the progress I was making and how intense he was. Like he literally like not really yell at me, but he was like really, really serious about teaching me. Like there was, granted, like he was a really, really good instructor. Like I would hand him that. And yeah, so I was like, you know what? Like I like the way this is going. It's very intense. It's very hands-on, and I liked how like I wasn't sharing the car with every like I had like a full hour, and we're going like really, really far and just driving like out the. Of course, he was like, you know, Chongwe, like down quiet roads, but still like I loved how intensive the teaching was. Like, you know what? So now he's like, oh, we're going to Lusaka tomorrow with like 3 other students. So we're going to get your provisional license. And then I just need money for fuel and the like. So you can just pay me the balance. And then, yeah, like I'll meet up tomorrow. So I had already been sold, saying, you know what, he's an older man. Like, I can trust him. Also, he has a fixed office. Like, it's fine. Like, you know, like I know where he's found. So I even like I sent him the balance, like when I had her money, and he's like, oh no, like I'll see you tomorrow. You guys, that's how like I woke up, because I know that if you're going to Ratsa, like you have to be there like by 7. So I was like really, really early. I bathed, I combed my hair, I like put on like a presentable top, because I knew that I was taking my driving license photo, and that's how I sat. 7, 8, 9, 10. Like I think I tried calling him like around 11. I'm like, are you still coming? Because I knew at this point like it was too late to even be going to Lusaka. And he's like, oh, that's today. He's like, oh, sorry, something came up. Like I'm really busy. There's an issue. So let's just reschedule and go like I think on a Monday or something or next. He's like, okay, cool beans. Monday comes, you guys, and this time his phone is off. So I'm just like, what the hell is going on? So I tried calling him, his phone was off. Tuesday, his phone was off. I think Wednesday, like I called my cabbie and I was like, we need to go and do a drive-by. So I show up and like his office is closed. Like the doors are locked, there's nobody there. Like I found one of his assistants, and he's like, oh, he dropped his phone, like his phone, like he lost his phone. So maybe that's why like he haven't reached. He's like, okay, fine. If he comes back, like tell him that I was looking for him, because one, I'm supposed to go to Lusaka to get my like provisional license, and 2, like we're supposed to have lessons every day. Like what's going on? Like he's been quiet. Okay. That's how I think Wednesday, like it was like a Thursday or a Friday when he finally answered his phone, and he's like, oh, anyways, let me just make a plan. We'll meet tomorrow. Like I'll call you back. That's how now like that week finished. We're now entering the 3rd week, and like I only had like a week and a half before I had to go back to work, and basically like I knew I wasn't going to get my license, because like I hadn't been doing like the learning and everything. So basically like he like ran away from me. Like an old, you guys, like a senior citizen scammed me. But anyways, point is now I have to get back to work, and I was like, let me go and collect my car at the very least, even as I am waiting to come back to work. So so I looked at my WhatsApp messages with the seller because I still have those messages. I purchased the car on the 3rd of June. I think I had to go back to work like by mid-June or something. So meanwhile, the mechanic has been working on this car for 2 weeks, and he's like, okay, it's finally done, it's been serviced, you can come and pick it up. So I travel with my taxi driver so I could come back with him. Did I? What happened? No. I think I got a lift to Lusaka and then I came back with my dad and the mechanic or something like that. And then he was going to come back with like a second car. So like it was 2 cars that, but you get what I mean. So I go to Lusaka, I see the car, I posed in it, I sat in it with my mom, like we prayed over it, you know how it goes. Like I was so happy, so proud of myself. I told my friends, oh my gosh, I bought a car. And I even gave that car a name. I called it like Vicky, like like short for Victoria, because I was like everybody is like has been cheating on this car, saying it's a wreck, but me and Vicky are going to get through this. Vicky and I are going to are going to ride it out. She'll be my ride or die. Like I believe in her. Like it would be fine. Like everybody's hating on Vicky, but Vicky is my car right now, and I'm super attached. I love Vicky. Yeah. So like all my friends are happy for me. Oh my gosh, like your first car. Like it was a moment, you know. I was like, finally, I have a car. It's nothing much, but I love it. Let's go to Chongwe. So I remember coming but I remember it was a weekend. So it was a weekend, and I had like I think 3 or 4 days left of like my annual leave before I had to go back. So I asked my taxi driver. Oh, by the way, so like now my plan was like my taxi driver was going to have to be like my driving instructor now, and he was he's the one who taught me how to drive. So I was like I'll just be like paying him something, and then like I'll be driving my car, and then like I will move around and learn that way. But at the very least, I needed to get my provisional license. So again, like I said, that man ran away, and now like I'm having to pay money by myself. So I book him, and I'm like, we're going to Osaka today. He picked me up. Yeah, he picked me up, and then we went with the car, and we get to Lusaka. I reach Ratsa. I got my provisional license, and literally on our way back to Chongwe, because he was driving, like I was very scared of driving in Osaka at that point. So he's driving, and if you know, like, is that a car or someone moving with music? Anyways, so we reached Arcades roundabout. So my international viewers just know, like I was on my way back to my town from the capital city where like I had to go and get my test done from. The car just like I noticed it was revving a bit. Like each time he would have to accelerate. Like he was really stepping on it, but like there wasn't that much like pressure or like movement. I was like, what's going on? Like that sounds weird. So now we're heading back, and then we reach Arcade roundabout, and again like now it was just getting worse. Like each time he would accelerate, like it was taking longer for the car to move, even though he was revving it, and then like it just like he was revving it and revving it and revving it, and that's how it just stopped in the middle of the roundabout. We had to put up triangles. It wasn't moving, you guys. So now I'm just like, no, like this isn't making any sense. Like the mechanic just spent 2 weeks working on this car. Like why has it stopped? So now like I call my dad just to let him know. I was like, and I'm like, I'm also about to call the mechanic because what's going on here? So I'm just paranoid and upset. So I call the mechanic. I tell him where I am. He shows up, and like I don't know what he did. I think because it was an automatic, so I don't know what he did, and then he put it in manual or something, and in gear 1. That's how he managed to like drive it to East Park, because like I said, like we were stuck at the airport roundabout. I now booked a taxi or an Orlando or something, went to my parents' house, and my dad was like, calm down. Okay, so this is the thing, like if you don't know me, like I'm somebody who's really, really dramatic. Like I wish I wasn't, but I panic and I'm very melodramatic. So people who know me know that I'm melodramatic. So in that moment, I thought I was calm, I was being chill, but I think people around me knew that I was about to explode. So my dad was like, just relax. At least you came with a taxi driver. So now like so that car he had offered, like the old one, he says, at least for now, because like you have no means of going back, just take it And then like once this is being sorted out, at least just have this in the meantime. Yeah, that's how we picked up the car and went back to Jongwe. So I get home now. I text my sisters, I text my best friends, because for me, I'm a friend whore, so I don't have a best friend. I have like a tier. It's like different tiers of friendship, and then I have like a top tier of multiple people who I call my best friends. Yeah, so I text that tier of best friends and I update them. Like I was in so much shock. I was like, how has this car just died like this? Like it wasn't moving. So I think like my spirit knew in that moment. Like I didn't know mentally, but like my body, or just I don't know, like my spirit connected with the spiritual world, like it saw the future, and it was just like, this is a done deal. Because like you guys, like I cried that night. And not even like tears of sorrow, it was like tears of confusion. And it was like I will never forget, it was the middle of June and I sleep on a satin bonnet, so like one, it's already cold, and then like tears and just anything that's wet, so like my tears were without being frozen by the weather. Like I remember flipping my pillow over, wetting that whole side. Like it was cold. Like I remember putting I cried on my hands. Like I cried, you guys. Like I was so mad because I was like, I don't understand why this is happening to me. I was like, why is this happening to me? Like I thought I had done everything right, and I know people who buy cars that are like third or fourth hand, but at least they move. Like this is not something I was expecting. It dying on me. Like how? Sorry, I'm looking at the time and I'm worried because I'm like, I don't want this to be over an hour, but it might be. I'm so sorry to be a podcast, but yeah. So I cried, you get like I cried, I was so upset. But then now I was like, you know what? Like at least I have this backup car. So now I go back to work and everybody sees like my dad's car. And like, oh, look at you. You have a new car and everything. So even though my dad's car is old, it's like a bit of an executive grown-up car. So it's, yeah, like, you know, I looked like I was doing boss babe things, but even though like it wasn't mine. So I just told my friends, no, like it's actually not mine, it's just borrowed. In the meantime, like I bought a car. So I tell them how like the car died on me like the previous weekend or something, or like a couple of days prior, but I'm waiting for it to get fixed. So that was June, right? I continued to practice how to drive. I think July 31st is when I went and actually like now like I had my full license, because I'd been like practicing and learning and everything. So I have my license, and I keep getting these updates, you guys, of how so many things, because now like the mechanic was trying to figure out what the problem was, and he kept like where he would have to fix this. Oh, and then my dad insisted that this was a return job, because he was like, it's your fault. You said it was intact, so why is it, you know, spoiled? So now like the poor mechanic is now trying to fix it. I think he was even using his own money, and then of course if someone is using their own money, like they just abandon it. So I'll check in every week or so. But anyway, the point is, like I was just very, very heartbroken. Like I was so pissed off. But I kept thinking maybe in a matter of time, like things would just work out. So that's how, I think a month had gone by, a month and a half, and then he finally tells me that I need a new gearbox. At first it was just like a small part of the car. Then he realized that it was actually the whole gearbox that had to be replaced. And I think like a second-hand gearbox at the time, because I couldn't afford a new one. It was practically like buying a new car, or new to like Zambian standards. But like a good second-hand gearbox was like 25,000 kwacha or something. I was just like, no. And at that point I was like, I might just, because at this point we're just experimenting and trying to see if things would work out. I'm like, I'm not going to buy a whole ass gearbox just for it to not work. So I was like, no, like I'm selling this car, like I'm done. And if there's something that I know how to do, it is to quit. You guys, like I give up easily. I was just like, no, it's not happening. So so even though I had bought the car for 72,000, I think by the time I was done, it had rounded up to 80,000, and I was just like, no, I'm selling this car. So now my dad kept insisting, because he's the opposite of a quitter. He's such an optimist. He was like, just keep trying, no, like we'll figure things out. I was just like, no, I'm selling this car. But then I couldn't sell it as like a fully functioning car. I had to sell it as a non-runner. and the asking price for a non-runner was like 50,000 kwacha. So I had basically made a loss of like 30 grand. And my dad was like, no, no, no. Instead of you selling it as a non-runner, like let's, get a new gearbox, have it intact, and then sell it, and even top up like a 10,000 or something, just so you can have like an. But anyways, I was like, I don't want to deal with any of that. Like I was just over it, and I was tired. And then if you watch my previous stories, at this point, like my tenant now did that whole 2 days notice, and then he ran away. And I was like, okay, so like clearly everything happens for a reason, and now like I really do have to sell this car and deal with that house, because I am not about to now lose rental income as well as pay for a caretaker. Like it was just a mess financially. So I was like, you know what, it's time, I'm selling this car. And then thank goodness I had that, the car that my dad loaned to me. So my dad I just refused. Like, you know what, like I'm selling this car, like I'm over it, I'm done. By the way, I feel my energy levels great. Like I thought I was going to tell this story in an optimistic manner, but I'm honestly feeling my energy drained. That's how traumatized I was by that experience. So I ended up selling the car for like, I think it was 50,000. Like that's what I got out of it. Of course, after negotiations and whatnot, and all of that went towards the house. Like it finished, and I was back to square one. But I was so fortunate that I even had the car that my dad lent to me, and I ended up laughing to myself that in the first place he had offered this to you. You wouldn't have gone through all of these, emotional roller coasters with a car if you had just listened to your dad in the beginning. But you wanted to be a grown up, and here you are like back to square one. And two, like the money ended up going where it should have gone in the first place. So I guess my first tenant's prayers were answered, because I guess I'm a bad person. And yeah, like the money ended up going towards what it should have gone to in the first place. So yeah, that is the story of my first car. And like the aftermath of that, like I was so hurt, you guys. Like I was so traumatized. I know, by the way, I hate it when people use the word trauma lightly, but like you guys, like I actually, like what I went through was like I'm laughing now, but if I hadn't gotten that car from my dad, where like it was even an option or an alternative, like I would have gone mad. I would have gone mad. Like I would have lost my mind. I'd have had a whole mental breakdown, because you guys, like 90,000 kwacha is a lot of money. I know to some it's not much, but to me it was a lot of money to just disappear like that. Fine, granted, I only lost 30,000 in retrospect, but even that, like even 30,000, if it's not something that you wanted to lose willingly, it was a lot of money. And even just the experience of trying to have a first car, I was like, why is this happening to me? So I'm so glad and that I was fortunate enough to even have that option, to have like an alternative given to me. But basically, like I was really, really upset. And the older that you get, like I think other 30-year-olds can attest to this, even though at the time I was 28. The older that you get, like you can't just be upset. Back at, like when we were younger, like you could cry and be upset, but it was just like in your head. Like you get a headache and then you'd sleep and wake up and you'd be fine. The older that you get, like it starts to manifest into other things. Like I was now becoming physically ill, like BP, I don't even know what was going on, but I was beginning to get physically ill. And then it got to a point where I was thinking about this so much, because it was upsetting me so much, that I actually like I got genuinely ill. And then when I got to that point, I was like, you know what, it's just a car. Like you're going to die over a car. Like worse things have happened in 2020, and you can't be freaking out over a car. So like I just got over myself, and I went from being upset to just blocking that car from my mind. Like I didn't want to think about it. Like I just suppressed it, and that's how like I moved past from that. And then something else that like like that would weigh heavy on my heart was the whole, like I tried, but then people who didn't know the story of how like I even tried to buy a car in the first place, like if they had known me from way back and they recognized it as like the family car or my dad's old car, they just assumed that I was this spoiled brat who was given a car, which is something that I didn't want to identify with. And it just made me feel like a failure. Like they didn't know that I tried. You know what so like that would affect me as well. And then two, like, anyways, like I just felt like people were just looking at me a certain kind of way. Like I'd even feel ashamed. And then people who didn't know that it was with my dad's car and would see it and just big up me, didn't even know the context. And again, I felt like a fraud because people are like, oh my gosh, like you bought a new car. But I didn't want to tell, like, to give them like a 1 hour story time. So that weighed on me for a while. And one of my friends like just spoke to me and was like, get over yourself. Like, get over yourself. One, yes, you're privileged, but like instead of being sad about it and overthinking it, like, just be happy. Be happy that you have this opportunity. Be grateful and be glad that you have like a parent who could even loan you a car. Like, this is something you should be grateful for. And honestly, you deserve it. So thank you to that friend of mine, because she was just like why do you keep feeling bad about what people will think? Like, she like she gave me this whole speech that honestly I have carried on, and I really appreciate it, and I like it made me get out of my head. And it's something that I want to touch on, because I guess maybe there should be like a moral or just something like that we can chat about, that all of us can relate to. And even though this doesn't entirely relate to like buying a new car, but just the experience that I went through, I feel so guilty about being given a car because I thought people would think I'm spoiled or whatnot. I didn't want to identify with that. But my friend was like, in life, like, if there's anybody who's going to catch feelings or feel spiteful about you being given like a gift or even just a loan of a car or anything, like, it's not your problem. Like, you like she was basically telling me that, you know what, I deserve it. Like, it's okay to accept things, it's okay to accept help. You're like, oh, by the way, like when I said I got sick, like I collapsed at some point. Like, it was funny then because I got over it, but I realized that this is dangerous. Like, what if I was driving and then like some like my brain decided to just pack up on me in that moment. I was like, let me get serious and just like eating properly and just like get over myself over this thing. And she was like, you actually did, like, you were given a car, just accept it. Like, you deserve it. Like, you deserve it. It was a gift. It's okay to accept a gift. It's okay to be given a car by your parent. Okay, you have done nothing wrong. And fine, in my case, it's a car. But okay, so like, here I am rambling. But the point I'm trying to make is that I learned a life lesson from that you can get. It may not even be a car. It might be something else. Sometimes, like, we overthink things. Like, we don't want to step on people's toes. It could be work. It could be just other aspects of life. And that speech spilled out onto other things that have happened to me. It could be work or just friendship or anything, you guys. If you have to walk around eggshells because you don't want to hurt certain people's feelings and the like, trust me, people who like feel a certain kind of way when something good happens to you, or something, you know, or like you do something good for yourself. Like, if someone catches feelings, those aren't people who you like there's nothing that you could possibly do that would make them happy. I don't know if that makes sense. But let me try and gather my thoughts. Like, okay, my energy like is so drained just by reliving this. Like, that's how much it affected me. But if someone like genuinely loves you and they're seeing what you've gone through, how this has hurt you, and they're like, you having a car handed over to you should not make you feel like a lesser person. Like, people who genuinely care about you will be happy that you even have an alternative or a solution to your problem. So don't start overthinking these things. So I got out of my head. And in the same vein, it could be even just like work or promotions. Like, I know some of us feel insecure. And I don't want to sound like I'm like, you know, enabling people who come from a place of privilege, because we're supposed to hate them and we're supposed to cancel them, understandably, because life is easy for them. But sometimes, you guys, like, people like everybody goes through something, you know what I mean? Fine, people have like 10 times more problems. Like I know my situation is is a fraction to what somebody else might be going. Like people have real problems out there. So me okay, you guys, like my brain is gone. Like, it's just refused. Like, I'm trying to make a point and I'm failing, but I'm like yes, like, people who come from privilege, like, sometimes they go through it. They might have genuine troubles and strife, but people will just want to talk you down and be like, at least you have a car or something. Like why even start? Like you shouldn't be getting upset. You know, you're still privileged. Like, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to feel like you are wronged in life. It's okay to feel that way sometimes. And then two, if something good happens to you and somebody is upset, that isn't your problem. Don't walk around eggshells around people, because trust me, like, you never ever please them. Like, I had a friend like who was just like literally you could be sitting on the corner of a street licking a 5 kwacha like corn ice cream, and somebody who just feels like you don't deserve to be happy, like, that can trigger them, that can make them upset, that can make them sick with anger as to why the universe is letting you sit there licking, like a corn ice cream for 5 kwacha and just be happy. Like, why does she get to be happy? Like, they're just those people who you can never please. So if you feel like you're in a position where like you have to walk around eggshells, now that I'm older, like, you guys, I have 0 F's to give. Like I said, my 30s are like a new dawn of my life, and those wise words from my friend like really like dawned in on me, and I'm more unapologetic about the way that I live, because I've come to realize that, like being humble serves, like it doesn't serve you in any way. It doesn't serve you at all. Like I have like siblings or sisters who are unapologetic, and I always look at them. I'm like, wow, like, how do you live your life so unapologetically? Like you don't have to explain yourself to anybody. But now I get it, and they've been telling me for years that, you know what, that you can't please Zambians, like you can't please people. So my point, I hope this point has come across, is that don't feel bad about good things happening to you. Like, if someone, for like I'll give another example. If you get promoted at work, okay, if you get promoted at work, or you get like better pay, or something good happens to you where it's not even taking away from somebody else's bank account, you're not even in the same like organization, you aren't applying for the same job, the same industry, but someone seems to catch feelings because that upsets them. Like, those are people who you just need to make your peace with. And if and sometimes it's just in your head, but if you've seen signs where you tell somebody something and they make you feel bad about having good things, like, don't feel bad about it. Like, if you aren't directly taking resources, like, if that good thing happening to you isn't taking anything away from them, like, it isn't your problem and it isn't your business, and don't overthink it. Just accept whatever good thing has happened to you and be happy, because you actually deserve it. Like if you get to a point where you feel like you don't deserve to be happy because somebody else that you know like isn't happy, like, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. So I went through that phase where like I was so miserable. I felt like I was undeserving of this car that was given to me, because I was like, what will people think? I tried to be a grown-up, but I failed. And so yeah, that was the story of my first car. And the car that I got from my dad is a Toyota Brevis. It's really, really old, and like I actually have a name for it. It's called Bev. Bev and I have been... Bev is a very temperamental car. Like, Bev has taken me through like the last 2 years. I'm so grateful for Bev. But she loves to throw tantrums, like temper tantrums when I'm broke. That's my only like pet peeve about Bev. But yeah, like, I am actually so grateful. And I'm at a point now, like, I'm like, after I got over myself, I was so happy that I even had a car. So I feel like Bev is technically my first car, and I'm so grateful to my parents. I'm thankful to God, okay? Like, I'm thankful to the universe that I even have the opportunity and the privilege to be given a car. And now I own it, and I'm unapologetic about it, and I'm like, thank you. Thank you, God. Thank you, universe. Thank you to my dad, for that car. So that is my first car. Though Bev is the 2500cc engine, and we all know what has happened to the gas prices recently. So I have been having very serious thoughts, and I need a new car with like a smaller engine capacity. But I did have this talk, the person who even lent or gave me this car, and he was like, in fact, he encouraged me to sell it, and he was like, please sell it and get something smaller, because like, yeah, like, that fuel is too much. Like you don't need something that big. So at least those, like, I didn't want to seem ungrateful if I just sold it one day, but I'm not even selling it anytime soon. But yeah, that's the story about my first car. And I feel like I've given you guys like a whole bunch of TMI. This actually takes me back to when I just began Cheetah Diaries back in 2017. You guys, like I used to say the most. Some of those videos I even on private now. but I've actually felt good just sitting down and just being personal with you guys. Like it's been nice. It's been nice. I know we're all tired of the hair videos, so even I am. But I've liked having these story times, and it's what is going to hold you guys down for the next couple of weeks, because I'm going back into my rock. Like I'm genuinely busy these days. So yeah, that's it. Let me not hold you for much longer. I hope you enjoyed this storytime series triggered by Susan, who asked for them. Like, if these stories are actually something that you enjoy, like, leave a comment and just say like shout out to you, Susan, because like we all owe Susan a drink if indeed you've enjoyed me just having these chitter chats, which is what I even used to call that series when I started out. But yeah, I will end here. Thank you so very much for watching, and I'll see you around. I don't know when, but let these videos hold you down in the meantime. Bye.